Hey, so if you're watching this video, I just want to say I understand we're getting towards that season where you either got accepted or rejected. And if you're on the other end of the stick where you got it rejected, it sucks. I understand you put in lots of hours studying, whether it was for the DAT and or for classes, you shadowed, you volunteered, you submitted your application. And for those of you who were granted interviews, you thought you did well in the interview. And for those of you who did not receive an interview and you still thought you presented a strong case via your application, you got denied. So, what do you do now? I will admit, it sucks, it stings, it's not a good feeling. I've been there before, trust me, I have. So, where do you begin? And that's what this video is about. So first and foremost, I would just say, just process what happened. Um, it's okay if you want to cry. It's okay if you're upset. I don't know if you want to punch a teddy bear. It's okay. Your feelings are valid. If anything, we've all seen Inside Out 1 and or 2, and they taught us from that movie that every emotion is valid. So just just really process everything and take your time. Once you've been in that place where you've been able to successfully process your emotions, then what you need to do is the first step. I highly recommend you set up a day and time to speak with somebody on the admissions panel. Every school in the state of America, A through Z, Z through A, should have a group of individuals who are on the student admissions. They should have their first, last name, and email or phone number in which you can reach out to call those individuals. I know I currently attend DCG. Oh, I currently attend DCG. So when I got rejected, not once, but twice, I set up a day and time to speak with one of the representatives to really ask them, hey, what was it to my application? What part or parts of my application that was significantly lagging that I need to work on? And they'll be candid with you. They'll say, hey, this is what was strong, this is what was weak, and with these weak part or parts, you need to work on this. I call it the laundry list. Everybody's laundry list will look different. Yours may have one thing, or it could have 10 things. I don't know. You won't know until you contact these individuals. And so, what I feel as though will happen once you call and set up a meeting with these individuals is that you're probably going to fall into one of five categories. So, number one is probably your DAT score. There's probably certain categories that they were looking at, they, meaning the admissions committee, that they were looking at in which was probably lagging. It could be your reading, it could be the PAT, especially since that section is solo, it's its own category. It could have been maybe a combination of the sciences, biology, OChem, and or Gen Chem. Again, I don't know until you call, and you won't know until you call and set up a meeting with these individuals. That's probably the first thing that they may look at with you. If not, it could be the GPA. Maybe your GPA wasn't competitive enough. Maybe you thought it was, and it could be higher. Again, that's just something that they will take into account and will tell you and will give you a definitive answer. That's what I'm trying to say about what exactly may have been the case if it was your GPA. Another category is your letters of recommendations. This is what trips people up. With letters of recommendations, some people feel as though just because I got the A in OChem, physics, genetics, cell molecular biology, engineering, whatever science class or whomever you thought you knew very well, they could have wrote you a decent one, but it just wasn't strong. So what I'm saying is, I know when I was going through the process and I went to my parasitology and medical microbiology professor at Georgia State, he was saying that, yeah, Mr. Clark, there are plenty of kids who approach me asking for letters of recommendations and they got A's in my class. But I don't know nothing about them. Yes, they sat in the front row. Yes, they asked a question or two and got the A in my class, but I don't know them. So by default, I'm like, this is Sally Sue. She got an A in my class. She asked a couple of questions. But the humanly aspect of Sally Sue, does she go to church? If she do, is she involved? Okay, what does she like doing in her spare time? Where does she work? Like, okay, she only child. Like the professors don't know what to write about those who get A's in the classes, but really don't build that relationship with the professional relationship with the professor. So it could that could have been the case with you. Or it could have been where, I mean, some of these doctors who I've shadowed, they've even opened up with me and said, yeah, Wes, you really stood out because you was always engaging. You asked questions during the procedures. I remember you. But there was another individual who I wrote a letter for. Yeah, they came to my office, but they was looking at me and I was looking at them. It was awkward in the operating room. And they was bold enough to come to me to write a letter of recommendation. And I'm just like, okay, well, this is John Doe. He attended XYZ University, shadowed me maybe, I don't know, 10 times, and that was it. So your letter recommendation could be weak. You're so fixated on trying to get the letter recommendation and just checking it off on your checklist, but you're not even realizing that you may have put these people in a position to where they couldn't write a well thought out letter of recommendation about you. So that could have been the case. Another uh, thing that could have tripped you up, it could have been your interview. So now that I'm officially on the inside of dental school, I'm like, I'm seeing what it's like for those trying to get in, but your interview could have tripped you up. There are some people, you did well, you applied early, you submitted your application, you filled it out in its entirety, but when you got to the interview, you folded. Maybe you were shy, you was abrasive, you let your emotions get the better of you, whatever it may have been that affected you. The interview, you bombed it. You bombed it. I know there have been some stories that I heard in which there have been individuals 3.8 GPA, DAT score 28, 29, 30. Letters of recommendation was strong. They was heavily involved, but when they got to the interview, they bombed it. And now those individuals who are interviewing you, when they have to go back to do and deliver their book report to their peers on the admissions committee, they don't have much material to work with. You look good on paper, but they have nothing else. They don't have no sustenance to really advocate for you in your based on your interview. But meanwhile, somebody else in their interview with lower stats was successfully able to articulate why they deserve to get accepted into the school. So that could have been what got you. Also, I would say professionalism. There have been some candidates in which I've heard at various schools around America in which they come off very cocky and arrogant. And when they show up to interview day, they want to just get to know the individuals who are, higher up on the food chain, the who's who of the dental school. But meanwhile, they're disrespectful to the dental students, not realizing that the people who are up here higher on the food chain talk to the students to get their perspective of, okay, hey, this is what we saw, but what did you all see about this candidate? And meanwhile, you probably gonna shot yourself in the foot. Not to say that could have that was the case, but it may have been, and you didn't even realize it. So if it wasn't your in-person interview with someone sitting across from you talking to you, the lack thereof professionalism could have hurt you. Um, it could have been how you carried yourself. Somewhere in there, it hurt you. The only other thing in which I can think of that could have hurt you in the process is when you applied and what all you put in your application. And what I mean by that is if you applied significantly late in the process, you're honestly going up against candidates. It's kind of like what the dean said here at DCG. If you wait to apply late in the process, you better be a Superman or a Superwoman, meaning that you got a 4 point plus GPA or a competitive GPA, DAT score, strong letters of recommendation, lots of involvement. You need to be a Superman or a Wonder Woman. There we go. That's what I was looking for, because now these schools are getting very selective and you're going up against other candidates who got a 4 point plus GPA or a competitive DAT score or whatnot. These schools are getting very selective. So you don't want to put yourself in that position, and you need to apply early in the process. If that was not the case, you did apply early, it could have been where you didn't fill out the application in its entirety. And I know when I applied, that's what tripped me up in the process in which, sorry, saw a friend. That's what tripped me up in the process when I initially applied to dental school. I was so fixated on applying early. Okay, cool. Did a good job of applying early, but there were certain parts of the application that were accidentally overlooked. So once again, when the admissions committee had to go back and evaluate my application and give their book report about me, I wasn't even granted an interview because they're like, okay, whoa, wait, Wesley Clark, yeah, we got his DAT scores, we got letters recommendations, yeah, we got his essay, but the application wasn't filled out in its entirety. So please take your time and make sure you cross all your T's and dot all your I's when you fill out the application. Yes, it's okay to move with alacrity, but you need to be thorough and detailed as well. And with that being said, if you was to say, okay, well, once I have this meeting with those in the admissions team or in the admissions department, what have you, where do I go from there? It just depends. You won't know your next move until you have that phone call from that gentleman or that lady at that particular school. But here's what I'll say, just from speaking from personal experience. So I attend the Dental College of Georgia in Augusta, Georgia, and I remember I got rejected twice from this school, and I was like, "That's cool." Just like I recommended you all, I processed what happened. I was upset. I'm not gonna lie, but what I did was I was like, "Okay, let me set up a day and time to call and speak with." One of the deans of admissions at this school. She gave me my laundry list of things I need to do, and just a golden nugget every time you potentially set up a day and time to call and get feedback on your application. These schools, more often than not, or what I feel as though should be doing, will be recording the phone call and how it went. And during these phone call conversations, please don't be abrasive. Please don't be emotional, because they will take note of that. So please control your emotions. But every time when I called to get, I guess, feedback on my application, again, I was getting the feedback I needed so that I could become a stronger candidate. So that when I applied for the third time, as well as early, because I completed my application in its entirety, I got the interview to DCG, and here I am. So, with that being said, I will also say here's a bonus factor that really helped me out. So some of my friends superseded me. They got into dental school before I did, and I would keep in touch with them. Now that I have friends who are on the inside of the school, I would ask them, hey, what is it like being a D1 or a D2, D3? However long it took me to get inside the school, I was asking them. So now I have an insight of, hey, Wes, this is what it's like being a student here at DCG, and this is what I wish I would have done before starting dental school. So now I'm like, okay, I'm so fixated on trying to get in, but this is what I need to do to get my bearings together. On that note, I just hope that whoever watches this video, I just want to let you know that it's not the end of the world. Yes, your emotions are valid. Yes, it's okay to be sad or upset. I get it. I understand. But what you have got to do is be able to process what happened, reach out to these schools and ask what may have been lagging in your application, take action, and take each day one day at a time, remain optimistic, and just know that your persistency will get you in the door. Somebody in America will accept you. Like I said, it may have taken me 3 times, but look, I'm a student here at DCG. So can't believe it, but I am. Try to do the best you can to enjoy this winter break and just come back swinging. a good a setback is a good comeback. And I promise you, one thing that stood out for me in the application process when I did get that interview, both individuals who interviewed me really loved hearing my comeback story. I went through a lot, but they loved hearing my comeback story. Heck, look at some of my own bios. Everybody loved hearing her comeback story. So Didn't want to take up too much of your time. Wanted to address this topic. I understand it's tough, but there is hope. I'm a firm believer that when we all go through difficult times in life, hope is what invigorates the soul and get us through those difficult times in life, especially when we're trying to pursue our goals, dreams, and ambitions in life. So on that note, I wish you all the best. Take care. Peace.